Hey everyone, Terry here with Living Life Legless. So you just had an amputation, now what? Today we're going to talk about what to do once you've had an amputation. Having an amputation can be one of the scariest things that you can ever go through.
Listen, this is scary. This is all just scary, honestly.
You're going to experience an array of emotions and you don't know how to cope with those emotions. Today I'm going to give you some advice that can help you get through this hard time and get you on your path to getting your prosthetic leg. So if you've recently had an amputation, you probably have went through the emotions of being scared, being angry, frustrated, and just not knowing what to do next. So you're laying in a hospital bed after amputation and your stump is absolutely killing you.
Ugh, this is killing me.
It's throbbing, there's pain. This is short term. This will start to go away. When you're in the hospital, you're going to have medication that is going to help you with this. You're going to have physical therapy start coming in and working with you to start getting you stronger and on a path to start standing and getting ready for discharge. One of the most important things that I can stress from someone that sees amputees every single day, especially after amputation, is the importance of having a stump protector. So many times patients are discharged from the hospital. Some of these go to inpatient rehab facilities. Some patients discharge and go home and do outpatient physical therapy. But one thing that seems to happen a lot is patients falling and damaging their stump. This is totally preventable by having a stump protector. And it's a device that will, in the event of a fall, help reduce the force and stress that the stump takes when you fall. Now, this is not 100% going to keep you from damaging the stump, but I can tell you from experience with working with these patients, those that have a stump protector and have a fall, the chances and the outcomes of those patients of having injury are a lot smaller than the patients that don't. I have had quite a few patients that have fallen and hit their stump and damaged it, and it typically bruises the tissue, the bone, or it pulls the incision apart. Now, once that happens, most of the time that incision cannot be surgically closed. It has to heal completely on its own because the tissue is so soft and scarred from the amputation that it hasn't had a time for it to completely heal. In my experience with my patients, this process of healing can take generally between 3 and 6 months for a stump to fully heal that has been busted open from a fall. So if there's one thing that I can stress upon discharging from the hospital is making sure to ask your doctor to write an order to get a stump protector, and most areas that you live in will have O&P facilities, that's orthotic and prosthetic facilities, that can come into the hospital and fit these devices before you discharge, or they can write an order and it's something that you could get the same day of your discharge before you go home, and sometimes typically before you go to a rehab facility. Now, one of the other things that you are going to need to do is to start coping with amputation. A lot of times patients are blindsided by having an amputation.
I think I'm just in shock.
You know, they've either had a traumatic injury or something's going on from a wound, it gets infected, they go to the emergency room and they're told, we need to take you for surgery for an amputation before the infection spreads, or the leg may be so damaged that they have to amputate because saving the leg is not viable. In these instances, you do not have time to prepare for amputation, so you wake up and boom, the leg is gone and you don't know how to deal with that.
It's gonna hurt bad before it gets better.
So if you're talking to your doctor and your doctor has mentioned that you're going to have an amputation, the best advice I can give you is to find an orthotic and prosthetic company in your area. Reach out to that company and start talking to the people that work there that do the prosthetic legs. There is information that they can give you. There's websites that you can be pointed to, and I will leave some of those websites in the description below. And these are useful resources that you can read that can kind of help prepare you for amputation. Where I work at in my office, I have a prosthetic handbook that I will typically give to new amputees, or if I get the opportunity to see these patients before their amputation, I will give them this book so they can start reading through it, and this is going to greatly prepare them on what's to come once they have their amputation.
It's all about being ready.
Another useful resource is social media. There are plenty of support groups on social media apps like Facebook. There's amputee support groups. I would be very mindful that on some of these support groups, there are some really weird and crazy people in those groups, and you're probably going to get approached with some weird questions, or you get these people wanting to chat and send pictures. So just be mindful that you're always going to run into those issues. But for the most part, those support groups are a really good resource, and it's people that have had amputation that are offering their time to talk to you, to answer questions for you. So on top of, those support groups, like I said, finding someone that you know that has had an amputation or that has a prosthetic leg, talking to those people, you can really find out a lot of information on what to expect and time frames of healing. So talking to a fellow amputee can also give you good direction after your amputation. One thing that I can say as someone who went through an amputation at the age of 15, I also experienced these same emotions. I was given the chance to make the decision if I wanted to have my amputation at the age of 15 or if I wanted to wait until I got older. And I chose at the age of 15 to have my left foot amputated just because the foot was no longer viable from the birth defect that I had, and my foot was allowing me not to enjoy the activities that I enjoyed doing. So I chose to have my foot amputated. And the day after Christmas, I went into the hospital and got prepped and did all the pre-surgery stuff. And a couple days later, I had my amputation and everything was going good. I was healing good. And I developed a rub area inside of my cast. Now, typically today, you do not get a cast when you have an amputation. You might have a hard dressing like cast and ace bandage, but when I went to Shriners, I had a full cast on my leg just for stability. And I developed a rub area, and it rubbed a big raw spot on my stump on the bottom. And I had to have the cast removed, and I had to do wet dry dressings for a long time to get that skin to heal. And my stump finally healed, and I was ready to start my prosthesis in about March that next year. And I can tell you, waiting that entire time, it mentally did affect me, because I thought I was going to heal good, get a prosthetic leg, and boom, be right back to doing all the things that I was doing before. But that didn't happen. So I have went through those same exact emotions, laying in the hospital bed, not knowing what in the world's going to happen. And you know, Shriners are great people. The nursing staff, the doctors, everyone was super and great. But I just felt like I was not prepared enough to deal with the amputation. And that is one thing that I really stress with the patients that I work with is, you know, I can relate with what they're going to go through, and I'm very sympathetic to that. So I know what these patients are going to experience, and I know what they need to hear after they have an amputation. So that is one positive of having prosthetic legs and being a double amputee and working in this industry, is I can relate to amputees when they're asking questions or having problems. Immediately after your amputation, your stump is going to be really sore and it's going to hurt. If you have never Googled amputation pictures, videos, it's a very traumatic experience, and it's very traumatic on the leg. And the brain is used to communicating with the foot, so they are sending and receiving signals all throughout your life, and then all of a sudden those signals are interrupted from the amputation, and the brain is still learning that there's no foot there, so it's just continuously throwing signals down, and you feel that throbbing, that thumping, kind of like you've got a really bad just pounding headache. You get that sensation in your stump, and a lot of times you'll feel like your big toe is being pulled on or it's curled. Those are some of the sensations that my patients say that they feel, and that's some of the sensation that I feel to this day, and that's been 30 years ago. So there's times I feel like my toes are in a bind even though I don't have toes. But phantom pain is one thing that you're going to go through, and it's really bad the first couple days, and then it starts to get better. As the stump starts to heal, the phantom pain starts to subside. Now, there are patients that will deal with phantom pain and some of these pains the rest of their life. For the majority, the phantom pain is short-lived and then it goes away. Right after amputation, if you immediately do not have a stump protector, you're probably going to have a rigid dressing over the stump and a figure 8 ace bandage wrap that is going to apply some compression and help hold that stump. And this does two things. After amputation, a lot of times you have what's called dog ears, and I will show you a picture of what those look like. The dog ears are the two flaps of skin that stick out after the incision is sewn back together, and a shrinker or ace wrap helps around and pull those dog ears in so you get more of this rounded stump on the bottom. A lot of times certain doctors will want you to come in and we will start a stump shrinker compression right after your amputation within the first day or two, and this immediately starts removing all the swelling and the fluid buildup in your stump from amputation. But it also serves a purpose with the compression. It starts to help shape that stump and get those dog ears to go down if you do have dog ears. So those are two types of compression that you may experience after amputation: is figure 8 dressing with figure 8 wrap with a rigid dressing or a stump shrinker. Sometimes you will have a knee immobilizer, and this is to help keep your legs straight. Most patients after surgery want to lay in the bed like this, and the muscles are so weak after surgery, if they're not straight and they don't straighten the leg and exercise, then you are at a higher risk for developing a knee contracture. And I have multiple patients that had these devices and did not wear them properly, and now they are stuck with a knee that's bent like this, trying to wear a prosthesis. And what happens is when you're standing, the foot is angled back because the leg is not straight. So developing a knee contracture right after surgery will greatly alter your alignment when you start getting a prosthesis. Now, like I said, the knee immobilizer helps keep the knee straight. You will need to remove that to exercise and start bending and moving the leg, but it also needs to be worn so you don't get into a habit of just keeping the knee bent all the time. And a stump protector kind of does the same thing, but an added bonus is it helps protect the stump. And there's multiple stump protectors out there from various companies. So as long as there's protection on the end of the stump, it's going to do two things. A, help keep your leg straight in the beginning, your knee straight, and B, it's going to help protect your stump in the event that you bump it or that you fall. Now, after a couple days, usually 2 or 3 days, if there's no setbacks and everything's going good, you're going to leave the hospital, and like I said earlier, you're going to go to a rehab facility, or you're going to go home. And my suggestion is, if you have that opportunity and you can afford that, if you have an out-of-pocket expense, you need to do inpatient physical therapy. Once you go to the hospital, they're going to work with you some there. And once you leave, you're going to get better, more in-depth therapy in an inpatient rehab facility. You're going to get therapy every single day, sometimes 5-6 days a week. And that's going to go on typically for 2, around 3 weeks. And that therapy is very, very beneficial for you to get you stronger and get you ready to go home. So they're going to work with you on using certain muscle groups, on how to stand, how to transfer, and start to do daily things on your own without putting yourself at risk from falling. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button for me if you are enjoying the content. If you have a question, just leave that below. Now, if you do not go to an inpatient rehab facility, I really suggest doing some outpatient physical therapy. This is going to do two things. It's going, the same as inpatient physical therapy, you're going to be going and getting therapy. You may not get as much therapy, but you're still going to get therapy, and therapy is crucial after amputation to be stronger and getting prepped and ready to get your prosthesis. The other thing it does is it gets you in a routine of getting up and going out and that also mentally helps you when dealing with amputation. So definitely 110%, you either need inpatient physical therapy or some outpatient physical therapy after amputation. It's been a few weeks now and you're doing pretty good. You're starting to stand and you're walking with a walker or crutches, and you're going to be coming up on this period where you go back to the doctor and they're going to start removing staples or stitches, depending on how your doctor does it. And sometimes they will remove all of them at the first visit, or they may remove half and then you will come back and the rest will be removed later. And once you get to the process of staples and stitches coming out, that is where you really need to get more in depth in the shrinking process of the stump. Because once this occurs, typically in most patients, you're getting closer to starting your prosthesis, and you want that stump really shaped, healed up, and no dog ears. That way, when the doctor clears you, you will be ready to start your prosthesis right away. Now, most companies are going to start the prosthetic paperwork process right around the time of their first initial evaluation when they see you, or maybe they will once the stitches and staples come out and you're being fit with a shrinker. They may start their paperwork then. This is going to allow them to get all the insurance out of the way. That way, when the doctor says, hey, you're healed, you're ready to go, then your orthotic and prosthetic company has that paperwork completed, authorizations have already been gotten, and you are ready to start the process of getting a prosthesis. My suggestion is, if the doctor says that you are ready to start your prosthesis, just in case any paperwork or anything has fell through the cracks, I would ask your doctor to just write on an order that it's okay for you to start a prescription, because sometimes you may think that everything is good to go and you may be missing paperwork. You're ready to start your prosthesis and boom, you have no paperwork, no authorization from the insurance. So now you're in a waiting game on trying to get this paperwork rushed and done so you can get your prosthetic leg started. All right, a quick little recap. So once you have your amputation, first couple days, you're going to be in the hospital. You're going to have a rigid dressing, an ACE wrap, sometimes maybe a knee immobilizer or a stump protector. Like I said before, make sure you are asking that you get a stump protector before you leave the hospital. That way that stump is good and protected before you leave the hospital so you don't damage your stump. Then the next thing is you're either going to go to an inpatient rehab facility, outpatient rehab facility, or you're going to go home. And this is where you have got to start putting in the work. You're going to go back for follow-up to the doctor once your rehab is out of the way. You're going to start getting stitches and staples removed, and then you're going to really start the shrinking process on that stump to start your prosthesis. We've kind of talked about how to deal with emotions and using support groups. And if you have any questions on dealing with an amputation, if you're having issues with your stump, just leave me a comment below. I would love to be able to talk to you if you have any questions. If you don't mind, hit that like and subscribe button. Give me a follow. The next story that I'm going to do is going to be, starting your prosthesis and what to look forward to when the doctor gives you the okay and you are ready to start getting your prosthesis to get back to a normal life. So stay tuned for that video. Just remember, don't let depression get you down. depression is the one thing that will hinder or slow you down more than anything. So if you're feeling depressed, please reach out and talk to someone. If you can find a fellow amputee or support group, friends and family, don't be afraid to talk to someone, because depression can hinder your progress just about as bad as damaging your stump. I've seen it way too many times where patients get in a funk and they are just not able to get out of that, and it drags out and they get lazy and complacent, and it is very hard to get yourself out of that rut, and it takes you way longer to recuperate and heal when you're depressed. So definitely, if you're feeling like you're depressed, you need to find some help to deal with that. I hope you're enjoying the content. I appreciate everybody watching, and I'm glad you're on this journey with me. If you have comments, leave those below. Hit the like and subscribe button for me, and let's take this journey together.